It's 9:21 p.m. I usually get ready for bed around 9:30, but I was like, "Lexi, we're getting this up. I promised you guys episodes every single Wednesday, and I know how good it feels when my favorite podcast episodes or vlogs go like they say they're getting up on a certain day and they're up on that day, right? And so just gives me something to look forward to. So I want to hold that standard for you guys and myself and gets that consistent conversation up too because I love podcasting. There's definitely times where I'm like, ugh, I don't feel like it necessarily, but then I shift into gratitude and excitement and creativity and understanding what do you guys need to hear? What have I learned in my journey that I could possibly share that will be helpful and beneficial for you listening to this to make shifts in your own life and get curious about things for yourself so that way you can grow and change and shift and become the person that you desire and you know deep down. But there's so many like, things along the way, right? So with that being said, speaking of shifting, I really wanted to talk a little bit about shifting self-doubt when we start to focus on the past. So, have you ever set a goal for yourself or you're in the midst of trying to achieve a certain goal and you look into and what you're starting to do is you're trying to look for evidence of it being possible. And so what do? We look into our past, we go I'm going to use a fitness journey for example. I don't even like saying fitness journey. I just feel like it's easy to say in layman's terms, but what I mean by fitness journey is really just practicing a consistent, healthy, fit lifestyle that keeps you healthy and fit and feeling good. And then possibly taking that to the next level of, you know, trying to develop your physique, get stronger, whatever. But this can apply to anything in life. But let's say you are on this journey and you have this goal for yourself, but you have very little evidence of you actually achieving it or sticking through to it. Or maybe you've just been falling off track a lot and you're like, oh, like I keep saying this, but I'm not doing it. So I'm just going to give up because clearly, whatever, it's not working. Or, I'm looking to my past. I see nothing but failure. So what's going to make this any different? And you kind of really start to lose that belief and that trust in yourself. Right. Like I remember in the beginning of my fitness journey when I really wanted to take it to the next level in terms of discipline and consistency. And I just couldn't figure out why I couldn't just be fucking consistent and like show up for myself after a certain amount of time. But I realized that I actually kept telling myself, oh, yeah, I only stay on track for like 4 weeks. Like it's always at the 4 week mark that I fall off, which was true. But I also kept reiterating it back into I kept just regurgitating it on everything. Like, anytime I would work with a coach or do a program, or even when I would tell myself, okay, I'm going to get back on it and I'm consistent for 2 weeks, I would have in the back of my head, like, how long is this going to last before I fall off? You know what I mean? And because I just always was thinking that, it just became a self fulfilling prophecy, right? I'm always waiting for myself to slip up. I'm always waiting for life to kind of throw something at me. And it's like, do you know, like literally with the law of attraction, the last part is literally waiting and expecting your manifestation, but you're subconsciously doing that, but with something that doesn't make you feel good. That's why I say you're always manifesting. Like, manifesting isn't necessarily something you do, just sit down and like journal about it and visualize it, but we're always regurgitating these subconscious thoughts and stories out loud to ourselves in the back of our heads. And we're not really aware of it 100% of the time. So, how can we actually get aware of the self doubt and those thoughts as they come up, right? Excuse me. Because it can be easy to look at our past and be like, oh, my track record doesn't look too good. Or, I don't really see it in my family. Like, nobody else is like this. And it just makes it very difficult sometimes to believe. Believe that something is possible for you because you don't see evidence of it yet for you. And maybe you do see some, you know, other girls' stories where they were in your position and they got to where they wanted to be and they did these things. And sometimes it can be confusing, sometimes it can be helpful or inspiring or whatever. But that's what we call your expanders. Okay, so your expanders are basically people in your life who expand your vision, what you believe to be, I guess, possible or true or whatever. Uh, right. So, for example, before I started my fitness journey, I would look at like, I before I got educated and nutrition and training, I was a bodybuilder and I could see for myself how crazy the body can actually change, genetics aside, when you actually put in the work and the strategy behind your physique development journey, right? It's like, and I want to highlight physique development journey because a health and fitness journey is not the same as developing your physique, right? It can be the byproduct of that, but after the newbie gains kind of wear off, you want to like really develop your physique, like let's say you lose a lot of weight, but you want to build your glutes, or you want to just, really build and sculpt, that requires like strategy. It just does. Like you're not going to get there like really intuitively eating and just working out. Like it's going to come from, being strategic. So anyway, getting back on track, right? It's like before I knew any of that stuff and before I knew what I knew now, I used to think that like, if a girl had great genetics and she worked out and she tracked her macros, and because if you take somebody who already has a great foundation and then they track their macros and they're eating at maintenance and they're building muscle and you're following progressive overload and they're consistent for 2, 3, 4 years, duh, their body's gonna be fucking sick. And I would look at shit like that and I would be like, and this is I really want to make it clear, I'm not talking about the fake girls. I'm not talking about girls who get BBLs and act like, I'm talking about girls who literally built their body, even girls who don't have that genetic standing, right? That 2 to 3, 4 years of just being consistent with your training, your nutrition, all of that, you can really change your body, especially if you're going through different phases. Like if you're doing a proper, calorie deficit phase, and then you're reversing out of that and doing a proper maintenance phase, living at maintenance. And this is a big part of what we do at Embody Her, which is our online women's nutrition, mental health, and fitness coaching business. If you guys want to learn more about our one-on-one program, you can check us out on my Instagram. um, but a lot of the times we oh yeah, I was going to say that we have a 4-phase approach. We call it our 4-phase to fit process. It's a proven method. And literally we take you through all these phases where you can upregulate your metabolism, get yourself on a solid footing, right? Get yourself actually, healing your relationship with food, building a solid foundation, and then, transitioning into every phase. And I could do a whole nother podcast on that, honestly, because it's super cool. And it just helps you achieve this full mind body transformation. Now, going back to what I was saying, right? I didn't believe that was possible for me until I then did it for myself. And then I became an expander for a lot of different people, right? Like especially women of color who wanted to be in bodybuilding, you know what I mean? Or, like women who look like me. And even if you don't look like me, you might relate in different ways. But I know for me, we all like to watch, manifest through people, visualize through people because they look like us, right? And so when someone who looks like you, who came from the same place as you, or maybe they don't look like you, but you guys just relate on a certain level, and they go and do something and make something happen for themselves, whether that's their dream body in a natural, sustainable way. Maybe it's, and also healing their relationship with food, all of the things. Maybe it's quitting your 9 to 5 job and, becoming a successful insert blank, you know what I mean? Oh my God, guys, I say, you know what I mean, a lot. Like, yo, like I need to stop that. Anyway, now I'm really trying hard not to say it, but bear with me here because that's a lot of you know what I mean. So it's like, yes, we know what you mean. But getting back to what I was saying, you have these expanders in your life who then make you feel like, okay, she did it. Why can't I? Right? And that's what really separates people who can shift self-doubt and then those who might really struggle more is the ability to go, why not me? Because there's people who go, why me? Or lucky her or whatever it may be. And then there's people who go, why not me? What does she know that I don't? You know what I mean? Who the fuck do I need to talk to? Who do I need to hire? Girl, us. Okay. But, like, what do I need to do? Right. And obviously, you want to follow things that are healthy and sustainable. And there's a lot of great role models. Okay. There is. Um, Use discernment in social media. Okay. Because there is a lot of fake shit too. And so, we want to shift self-doubt when we are looking at our past, or we feel like there's not a lot of evidence to back up our belief, then we're not believing. That's what belief is. It's choosing to believe in something that you cannot see yet. And but here's the thing, guys. You know what's so cool? If you can envision it in your mind, or if you can think about it or feel it, right? If it's a desire of yours, it's achievable. It's achievable. Like, if you think about a chair, right? Like, everything that we have in this world was once thought up in the mind before it was ever an invention. You realize that, right? Like, the chair you're sitting on, the shoes you're wearing, like, at some point in time, that wasn't like a thing, but somebody literally was like, this is a problem. I'm going to find a solution, and I'm going to make it a solution, and I'm going to believe in a vision for myself or for the world or whatever that nobody can see yet. And that's why I sound like a crazy person. I'm going to be lonely sometimes, but then everybody's going to be asking you how you did it and what to do. Look at Lana Lashes. I don't know if you guys know her, but she's like a lash queen. Like, literally, she started a lash business empire. And when she first started off, lash extensions were just coming up. Like, I don't even think Amazing Lash was out there, but it was like it still is a luxury, but it wasn't as known, I feel. And she dealt with a lot of, I mean, every single person who decides to believe in a vision that nobody else can see, not even you in the physical world, of course you're going to be called crazy. But I am a huge believer in being delusional. Be delusional. Like, literally, just be fucking delusional. Give yourself permission to use your imagination. We have our imaginations when we're children, right? And then we lose it because we become so like logical and critical, and we live in autopilot. And it's like, no, girl, like, we all still have access to that imagination. What do you desire for yourself? What do you desire for your life? What do you desire for your family? Do you just want to survive, or do you want to fucking thrive and be beyond that? You know what I mean? And so then what beliefs do we have to shift in order to actually feel into that, right? Because you I kind of forgot what I was going to say there, but when self-doubt comes up, in order to shift it, I always teach this, but like, when that self-doubt of like, oh, I don't know, like, you're just struggling. Let's just say you're just struggling to have faith, you're struggling to surrender, you're struggling to release control. You have anxiety, and some signs of that is like, obviously, anxiety, self-doubt, negative self-talk, self-sabotage. Some examples of self-sabotage is avoidance, escapism, self-abandonment, um, all of those things, right? So when self doubt comes up, however it comes up, the first thing that a lot of us can do sometimes is like, oh my God, like, like, we allow one negative thought to become two, to become three, to become four, to become five, to then we're spiraling. And then we just are fucking on the couch, just doom scrolling because we're feeling bad for ourselves and whatever it might be, right? Like, you start spiraling. You start reacting to your reality. You start reacting to things around you in your life instead of choosing to respond. Okay. And you do have a choice. You have a choice whether you want to react or whether you want to respond. I don't believe in just impatience. I used to always say, "Ah, I'm just so impatient." And like, just everybody in the world has to deal with my impatience. And like, and that's kind of like the ego, like, victim mindset is like, you change for me. I'm impatient. So therefore, you make sure that life should be in order because I'm impatient and I'm going to throw a temper tantrum when things don't go my way. And it's like, all of that shit, however it comes up, you know, um, damn, I fucking lost my train of thought. I'm so fucking annoyed. But anyway, let me bookmark 15 minutes. Okay. And patience, patience. I was talking about patience. Oh, yes. And so we let this thing spiral, right? And we react instead of respond. And the only times I really see when it feels like it's not a choice, like if you've ever said, well, it doesn't feel like it's a choice, like I just feel like I snap. Well, you have to understand, you don't just snap, you get to the point of being on edge and then you snap. You get to the point of taking like enough is enough and then you snap and then you're reactive. But you're only reactive and you snap when one, you're not taking care of yourself or you're not what I mean by that, that could be many different things. That could be your physical health, your nutrition, basic things like that, that can get your hormones and gut health really wonky, that can fuck with your mood, make you reactive. Not that anything can make you, but you know what I mean, right? Other thing is like if you're not taking enough slow down time for yourself. Like I have clients sometimes they're like, "Well, I did take care of myself. I went to the gym and I meal prepped." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, but you still feel like this." So maybe, how is your actual mindfulness routines? Like where are you making time to actually slow down, even if that's 5 minutes before bed, right? Like where are you feeling your bedtime? And they're like, "Damn, you're right. Like I am kind of like always on go 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 mode. Like I'm always wanting to do something and I really struggle to kind of just wind down. Like I feel like I always need to be doing something or I always need to be stimulated." And I'm like, bingo, right? Because that's what it is. And so you can be more responsive when you just identify, why the fuck am I so reactive? What lifestyle habits are actually making me harder to be responsive? Where am I not taking care of myself and charging my battery? Where am I having people overstep my boundaries, or I'm people pleasing, wherever it is? Because you get to the point of snapping. You don't just snap. And if you're someone who's just snapping left and right, girl, smoke some weed or go to therapy because like listen, binge my podcast. But I used to be that girl, but I used to be snappy towards men. Like I've always been a girl's girl. Not always, but I just love my bitches. Like, what's up? Anyway, but yeah, guys, so when that self-doubt comes up, respond. Don't react. Don't let yourself spiral because you have a choice. Okay, okay. I'm feeling like, things are not looking the way that I want them to look right now. I have two choices. I can give up and give in and decide to choose failure, because at the end of the day, quitting is failure unless it's just a matter of your priority shifting. But radical honesty is super needed there. Because sometimes we just shift our priorities because we don't feel like we're doing a good job or we're not being perfect enough. So then we're like, fuck it. Um, so it just depends. But it's about understanding that everything is working out for you for your highest good all the time, even when it doesn't look like it. Even when it doesn't look like it. And if you're like, okay, Lexi, well, that's great, but like, what do I do with that information? Like, it doesn't look like it, but how do I deal with feeling like I'm not getting my blessings, or feeling like life is not changing, it's just getting worse? Like, how do I, or I'm not showing up for myself, I just keep self sabotaging, I'm slacking off, or wherever that self doubt is coming up for you, whatever past you're bringing up and you're projecting into your future, we have to let go of. And so this is why I'm very spiritual, and like if you're listening to this podcast, like you'll probably get a lot more value if you're also spiritual, and however that looks like for you, because I'm a firm believer in like what really strengthens me, makes me feel creative, and makes me like all the information that I fall upon and that I'm guided to, I truly believe I'm divinely guided, and we're all divinely guided, whether we think we are or we're not, we are. And a lot of times when we're kind of constantly being met with the same situations and patterns, it's because it's actually to show us an error in thinking. Like it's an error in thinking that isn't from a place of love. And we have to look within ourselves to actually identify where are we resisting love for ourselves. Right. And so Shifting self-doubt can feel hard sometimes because a lot of times we struggle to just give ourselves, like, for everybody else it's like, oh my god, yes, boo, right? Like, everybody else it's easy, but for you it's it might feel a little bit more difficult, right? Or resistant toward it, because like they always say, a psychic can't do their own reason, a psychic can't read their own future, right? They can only read everyone else's. We have that bias towards ourselves. And so when it comes to shifting self-doubt, I think the key here is, if you have that connection to that higher power, is shifting, it's having that surrender, it's giving it all to God, it's giving it to the universe, it's putting your hands up and being like, the how is not my responsibility, right? Like, I believe I am divinely guided, and this is a practice and this requires repetition. So again, shifting self-doubt and remaining present is the key to literally feeling so fucking fulfilled and joyful and gratitude. I wasn't gonna say that, guys. Gracious in life, is that the word? I don't know. No matter the circumstance, like like circumstances can happen, and you'll go through what you go through, but ultimately you'll still find that positive ground that makes you feel at peace in life, no matter what. So shifting self doubt is one, responding to being the observer of your mind. Being the observer of your mind. What does that mean? When these thoughts of self doubt, these feelings of self doubt come up, instead of reacting like we talked about earlier, we go, huh, we get curious. We listen to the thoughts like in our head, like as a third party, versus identifying with the thoughts. And then it triggers the emotions, and then the emotions dictate our behaviors and our actions. And then that just creates this perpetuating cycle, right? And yeah, so being aware and then going, you know what, I'm curious. Let me actually write down the thoughts that are coming up for me, the stories that I'm telling myself. Let me like just fucking pull up notes on my iPhone and just like write up like what the fuck's coming up for me, because I really want to shift this self doubt. And so maybe the thoughts for you are like, I'm no good, I'm not perfect enough, or I'm never going to get to where I want to be, or I'm just so scared, or I'm so fearful it's never going to happen. And like maybe you start to see that all this self doubt is actually at the root of fear. And then you start to feel compassionate towards yourself, because it's like, there's nothing to be scared about. Like, this is actually what we want. Right. And this is the beauty of actually taking the time to be the observer of your thoughts, get curious, create high awareness around the thoughts, not just like having conversations in your head. It's so important to get it out on paper, get it out on your notes on iPhone or whatever it is, and actually observing the stories that you're telling yourself and that are active in your mind, and the thoughts that are playing off in your head, because that is going to be the key. Our emotions and our thoughts are a compass to see like where, we have that error in thinking that's creating more negative feelings in our life than needed, right? Because as humans, we make situations 10 times worse and create, like, we are the ones with our thoughts and the things we just say in our head and repeat, and just fucking, we're so unaware. And it's like, you have no idea how much you're just fucking sculpting your reality right now, right? So you know, that's the first thing when it comes to shifting self doubt, is again summarizing, like, getting curious, being open. Where are these thoughts coming from? How are they actually serving me? Because maybe having that fear of failure or whatever is at the core of that self doubt is, and then you not taking action or falling off track is actually protecting you from something that you're not aware of. And this is all subconscious shit, guys. Like, that's why a lot of the times when I talk to clients or even like friends or family, I will personally be like, because I'm objective and I'm at the outside looking in. And I would say that I'm highly intuitive. And I would say that, like, I connect with people very, very easily without even having to know much about them. Like, I can really read people really, really well, just in my experience. And so when I meet somebody, not that's not to say I'm fucking perfect with that, but you guys know what I mean. Like, I'm an empath, right? I can pick up on people's energy and I can translate that, especially because I'm very, very connected to my spirituality and the universe and all of that, God, whatever. And so, I will be able to see like, God damn, the way this person talks is no motherfucking wonder they're in these cycles in life. Like, I don't even think they hear themselves. And it depends on my relationship with them. I will, ask them some questions so that way they can find out for themselves or, offer a different perspective. But sometimes it's just a lost cause. And, people that you meet, it's kind of like you can kind of tell that they're just not in that place or that level of consciousness to be open or to really see that. But that's what I mean by it's all subconscious, right? And so when we take time to just be the observer of our mind, we can quiet the we can kind of, it's almost like turning the background noise down and turning up the volume of that inner critic and the ego, not in the sense of like to drive you crazy, but like what are the thoughts that are in the back of my head that are rumbling beneath the surface? And let's get clear on them. Let's get aware so that way we can shift them. And then the shifting part is once you're actually aware, like let's say, okay, I wrote down all these shitty thoughts. I'm aware of them. Now what? This is when we want to release and forgive, accept, and just literally shine unconditional love, compassion toward yourself. What the fuck does that mean? I'll give you an example. Let's say all the negative thoughts I said earlier that came from this, oh, I'll never get to where I want to be, la da 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 da. I'm actually scared. Like, I'm so scared because what if I actually never get to where I want to be? Like, I'm so scared because what if I'm stuck in this body in this life for the rest of my life? Like, it can't be. You know what? I refuse to have that as a reality. God, please, I'm choosing to surrender. And this is the shifting happening. You hear it? You hear the shift in the energy? It's like, but you know what? Like, I'm choosing to shift this. Universe, I don't know how, but like, put the right people in my life. Give me the signs. Help me be open. Help me have strength. And this is where that shifting starts to occur. It starts to occur. We're alchemizing this low vibrational negative energy and we're shifting it into positive energy that's actually going to be a life force in your life that's going to help you shift, make changes, and create the life that you desire, become the person that you desire, that is going to be for the betterment of you, your family, and everyone around you, right? Because it's a ripple effect. And so then you apply affirmation. This is where positive affirmations come in. And the beautiful thing about positive affirmations is that a lot of times when we're used to negative self talk or we're struggling with self doubt or overthinking or whatever the fuck is your vice, okay? Um, we tend to like, no, not me blinking again. Fuck, hold on. Oh, yes, positive affirmations. So, positive affirmations, when we're used to thinking a certain way, we're actually creating neural pathways. Kind of like if you're taking a certain trail, like to a certain place every day for like 20 years, it's going to be like a very deepened trail, right? So that's the trail you've always taken your entire life. So the footprints, everything's already engraved out. It's a lot easier to think that way, right? And so the negative charge of those thoughts feels a lot more powerful than the positive charge, right? The positive thinking feels like it doesn't help as much. You need a lot more repetition. Why? Because a lot of us aren't like, I mean, very small of us are just always positive, like a lot of us have to learn how to get to that place where positivity and optimism and gratitude is like our emotional set point. But a lot of us start a little bit below that, like at neutral, you know, content, comfortable, just autopilot type, vibes, which is, teach their own. But if you're listening to this, you're probably like trying to break out of that. It's like it's not fulfilling for you. And so, positive affirmations, the repetitiveness of them. If you're just writing 3 affirmations a day or listening to 1 affirmation video a week, girl, that's not enough because if you want to create these new neural pathways, we're thinking a certain way and believing with certainty, having more conviction, more faith, more discipline, more self-love, whatever it is, that repetition piece has to be there. It has to be there after shifting. And so some ways to practice affirmation is like writing as many times to kind of drill that positivity into your brain in the morning or at night. YouTube is a great way. I would just find a voice that you enjoy. And those are great ways to kind of ingrain that positivity in you. And then over time, you'll find that thinking that way, shifting is a lot easier. You start to shift a lot faster. And then you start to live a more peaceful life, regardless of the circumstance. So, That's the main thing here, guys. I'm gonna wrap up the podcast now because it always makes me run out of time. But I was about to go in anyway. But hope you guys enjoyed this. Also, remember our 8-week challenge does close out for enrollment tomorrow. So get your ticket, secure your spot, and if you have any questions, send me a DM.